Hello, my name is Leila Sanchez, and this is my assignment 3.1 midterm project planning phase overview. I came up with the idea for my game title to be Trials of Love. This is my planning slash game direction. After loading and navigating the main menu, the player pawn controlled by the player controller will go through an obstacle course with 3 levels and checkpoints, collecting hearts for points along the way. After they collect 5 or 10, I haven't decided yet, another life will be added to the player pawn's life count with an uncapped maximum, so they could have as many lives as they want. If they collect all of them, they collect all of them. There will also be healing pickup items or healing areas of collision. All 3 levels will be different themes with different threat actors, described more in depth later. To complete the game, you will collide with an imported asset on the final level, which will display a game over screen or a congratulations one. This is my rough draft of my planning document. I inserted a photo here, so I included kind of all over the place, figure out and include my rough game idea. You see, I didn't even use this first idea, and I ended up switching it to this one that I'll explain later. And I also defined what needs to be included based on the rubric as well. My game design and its intentions. This is a rough game idea subject to change. It's an obstacle course. For level 0 or the default map, I would designate this to be an empty level that loads first initially, housing my custom main menu game mode blueprint, which would override the world settings in the main menu map level. And I just put this picture for my personal reference. When I look back, I'll be able to remember what I'm referring to. So for level 1, my idea, I would first create a new level empty, import necessary assets, and design the level to fit the aesthetic of the Marketplace Asset Pack Safe House, which would be filled with damaging actors, an example landmines, or an explosive red barrel to fit the garage aesthetic this asset pack provides. Level 2 could possibly be a different theme. I would create a new level empty, import necessary assets, design the level to fit the aesthetic of the Marketplace Asset Pack, stylize Egypt in this case, with a following Pharaoh asset that I would find by import from somewhere, that when collision occurs with any actor placed in the game, so the player would be able to run them into each other or into the wall to get rid of them. They would destroy themselves and or damage the player pawn using a visible only in Unreal Engine variable amount that can be set in default for other developers to use. And the use of variables just cuts out tech debt. So following that, my level 3, I would first create a new empty level, import the necessary assets, pretty rinse, wash, and repeat. Design the level to fit the aesthetic of the Marketplace Asset Pack, stylized fantasy provincial. This level will include both types of threat actors from the previous levels, but remeshed to match the aesthetic of fantasy. So what I mean by this is I'll end up using the same blueprint, if not creating a child class of it and adding something to the code, or just simply remeshing it. My end level would be the congratulations screen, which I would set with a trigger box or something to that effect. All right, so the rubric inclusion necessities. I need to import audio and art assets, which I covered with my initial design plan. During my video recording, I need to list and explain the principles of object-oriented programming using examples from the game I created, which I'll go into later on in the project. I have to ensure that all variables have no hard-coded values. This is just to make me a better programmer in the future, reducing tech debt, building good, what do you call it? Building good practices. Um, in in the video, I would also have to explain and include the concept of movement and vector math, which I will create an actor that moves towards another player pawn and that uses a blueprint to explain how to find the vector between 2 points. In video, I should also explain and include frame rate independent values per second, and I just put in parentheses delta so I would remember rather than per frame. I would also include load level functions on trigger mostly in my game and display the blueprints during the video. Once again, just a reminder for myself. In video, I should also explain the singleton pattern and use a game instance blueprint, which I will most likely migrate from a previous project or just recreate another one since it was pretty simple. But this is going to be used to control the core game logic. And I just also put this little tip in parentheses, ensure to change the default game instance settings to load my custom blueprint. Just a friendly reminder. I also have to ensure the inclusion of collision and triggers or overlap events. I also have to ensure the inclusion of custom input actions and display my ability to use and explain both is input key down and key events when P is pressed. As a reminder to myself, I set to refer to week 2 session 1 recording from Teams for an explanation so I could form my own. I also have to ensure to demonstrate object instantiation or spawn and destruction or destroy via blueprint using spawn actor from class and destroy actor respectively. Ensuring the inclusion of functions with parameters, input pins, and return values, otherwise known as output pins. Ensure the inclusion of a user interface UI. I should already have that covered. I plan on importing a few widgets from my previous assignments. And this little section is my new additional concepts to include. Obviously, if time allows, I would like to create checkpoints or a save state capability somehow, some way. Gotta look into that. I want to create a run function ability without a stamina limit, excuse me. Just because I feel like having a stamina limit would take away from the funness of my game that I'm trying to create. I also plan on adding audio tune to overlay throughout the entire gameplay as soon as it loads up. That's what I want to start playing some tunes. I also would like to create or import a pickup object that keeps points and lives count displayed on the UI throughout gameplay or every frame draw. On key press change, either the mesh material or the color of the 3D actor would change as an Easter egg. Options on my main menu to adjust overall game audio, so that's just another button I plan on adding. I also would like to include my macro library, which I will most likely migrate from my previous project, just so that way I ensure that it is 100% functioning. I also went on ahead and created a time chart or personal record of completing tasks, and I'll fill this in as I begin completing the tasks, as I have not touched Unreal yet. So as I start going through, looking through these, I'll pick which ones I believe will be the least time consuming, put a time estimate on it, try to complete it in that time. And if I can't, I'll move on to the next if that makes sense to do so. And if not, I'll just adjust my time to complete accordingly. This is just for, I guess, to add to my resume then. Thank you for watching, and I'm super excited to start this process of making this game.